Hey everyone, welcome back to the Always Closing podcast. Today I got a very special guest, Serena Dobbie with Main Street Realtors. Thank you so much for doing this,
of course.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So for everyone that may not know you, or maybe some people do, but why don't you give us a little bit about your background, how you got into the industry?
Yeah, I have been in the industry for 17 years now. I'm 40. I started when I was only 23. I graduated college and right away, actually within a month, went into real estate school, had my broker's license in North Carolina. And then originally from Rancho Cucamonga, so I missed my family and friends, came back after a year of doing real estate out there, which I loved. It was a lot of fun. We did downtown area and like skyscrapers, so we had so much fun in there. But then otherwise came back to Rancho Cucamonga, went straight into real estate and did new home sales for 10 years actually. Worked every weekend and every single holiday, so I needed some more flexibility.
Yeah.
And then went and created my own real estate brand, the SDR Group, and I'm with Main Street Realtors now.
Okay, awesome. What made you go to North Carolina? You grew up here in Rancho, you said, right?
Yeah, I got a softball scholarship actually. So
okay.
I was an athlete all through college and was not intending to go out of state. I had my heart set on UC Santa Cruz actually.
Okay.
And then I got offered a scholarship getting recruited out of a Las Vegas tournament. So I went to North Carolina on a whim and enjoyed it a lot, yeah.
But you said you did like it over there?
I loved it. I'm the worst person for an 18-year-old to talk to, or a high school or junior in high school, because I'm always like, gotta stay, and the parents are like, don't say that, but I loved it. It was absolutely worth it.
That's very cool. So did you always want to be in real estate growing up? Is that something that you aspired to be when you were younger?
I wouldn't say aspire. I would say I definitely fell right into it. I grew up with my father was a carpenter, and so I would be in model homes when I was a little kid, and he would give me like a little hammer and a piece of wood, and we'd go in and he would be building cabinets, and I'd be running around these homes that were in drywall and construction. And so I grew up doing that all my life. And then my mother in real estate, when I was in college, I would come home during the summers and do open houses, do property management with her. So it was definitely something that I knew was a good fit for me. Absolutely. Okay. I knew that I enjoyed talking to the people, creating the relationships, watching that end of it is, I like helping people, and I was not I didn't have nurse ingrained into me. I don't like blood or anything like that. Yeah. So I was thinking of other ways I could help people. And this just definitely fell right into something that fit my personality a lot.
Very cool. Yeah. So I'm going to admit that doing the research on you made it a little bit easy, because I went on your page and I was like, normally I'm kind of like digging deep to kind of get some interesting like facts about you and stuff. But you made it easy because you had a facts page on your page. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, this makes it really easy. I'm going to get some questions out of here. So
yeah, well, that's good. That's the whole reason for social media. You want people to build that relationship and that trust in us beforehand. So when we do meet, it's like we know each other already.
Right.
So, good.
So tell me about, because I saw that you put that you worked in fashion design for a little bit.
Yeah.
So how did you like that, and then what skills did you learn there that you were able to bring with you to the real estate market?
Yeah, so I actually, I had to get an internship actually. My college was a liberal arts college. They required that we did an internship. So my internship was with a fashion design company. It was a startup. We did designing of bridal gowns, cocktail dresses, prom dresses, and I loved it. And they were supposed to give me an offer, and they didn't have their ducks in a row. Yeah. And so I was waiting, and I'm like, you know what, this isn't the right fit, so I'm going to continue this path. And actually what happened is when I came back to California, I was doing real estate as a full-time job, was also waitressing just because I was starting real estate out here, getting things going, and I was also attending FITM at the time. So I was going back and forth on the Metrolink to FITM, and I was sleeping very little, very, very multitasking. And I absolutely loved it, and it would have been something that I would have kept going in, but I actually learned, I did research on it, that people their first year only make $12,000 on average, and I was like, nope, can't do this. This is not the right fit. Nope, I'm way too like motivated and self-independent, where I'm like, I can't pay bills with that in California. Right. So I was like, not the right fit for me. What I learned absolutely was the business aspect of it, as far as that being a startup, and then when you have your real estate business, that's a startup as well. making sure that you do have your ducks in a row, like we're saying, and making sure that if you need to hire someone new on board, that you do that hiring. And so it's all those little pieces of the back part of the business, doing cold calls even if you needed to, making those relationships over the phone beforehand, and customer service a lot as well, making sure that your clients are always number one in priority.
So why don't we talk about that for a minute, because the whole premise of this podcast is I like to try to help people who may be new in the industry or maybe struggling. So talk about like the whole running your own business aspect of being a realtor. Because in reality, you have to kind of do it all, right? I mean, I know that the brokerages are there to help us out, but really it's like you're kind of starting your own business, and sometimes it's slow in the beginning and while you're ramping up. It's why you say, you work multiple jobs.
Yeah.
So what can people expect once you first start getting into this line of business?
So for me specifically, that's a funny question that you asked, because literally just yesterday I went to put an Instagram story on and I just ran around and I forgot to do it. But it was because someone had tagged me. I had dropped off a haunted house, a little haunted house kit, a gingerbread kit of haunted houses to the kids.
Right.
And they had tagged me in it saying thank you. And I thought about it, and my caption was going to say something about the fact that, and I get this question a lot. People always ask like about selling houses if I enjoy it. And I'm like, well, I sell houses, yes, but that's not really my job. My job is to create relationships and build those relationships with people. And I think that's a big thing that people miss out on any business that you do.
Right.
There's places like I go shop for clothes at, even just because I love the person that works there. There's places that we go to, a Mexican restaurant every Friday night, because we love the way they make us feel and they know our name when we walk in. Yeah. Different things like that. Our job isn't just to sell the house and move on to the next client. Our job isn't to, host open houses and just, try to sell this home and that's it. No, as an open house, you meet the people, you're creating that relationship with them. After you close a deal with someone, your job is still to keep that relationship going. And I think that's what really makes me stand out in the eyes of other people. When looking at, I even had a client that had another transaction they did out of state, and she texted me and she said, I just want to let you know, I didn't realize, I knew you went above and beyond, but I didn't realize the extent of it until I did this other transaction, and now I see how much you do, and I just want to say how much I appreciate you. And it's one of those things that our job is so much on referrals and repeat business that we need to make sure we keep that relationship, because the stats show that people say that they would use their agent, but most of them that they had in their past transaction, but most of them can't even remember the name of the agent that they used in the past.
I hear that. And a lot of them say they once the transaction's closed, a lot of them never even hear from the realtor again.
Exactly.
So that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like you said, it's such a relationship-based business that's crazy to me that you would not maybe even keep in touch every 6 months. Just say hello, happy holidays, happy birthday, whatever it is, right? Yeah,
exactly. And reaching out, just those little things of, I heard that you're having a baby, congratulations, an engagement, congratulations. Just any little tiny thing is so important to you. You feel good when you get a note in the mail. You feel good when people remember your birthday and send you a text versus just a Facebook message or give you a call. So just those little things really, really matter.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Another thing I read was that you were working for a developer at one point, right? Mm-hmm. And that kept you really busy. I even saw that you were managing 120 escrows at one point.
Yeah.
So how did you even do that? How is that even possible? Because that seems like...
a lot of spreadsheets. A lot of spreadsheets. We actually would literally have the big pieces of paper. What is that now? 8 by 14 or something.
Right.
I don't even use those anymore. The legal size now. And that would be every single transaction laid out as far as their DU, their proof of funds, where their home was at in the building process, making sure we called them that week. And we would call everyone every single week, one by one, go through it with our construction manager too. And it taught me a lot as far as I still use spreadsheets. I've actually in my head replicated different things, and it makes the process easy. I don't even use a TC because I'm used to handling these escrows and going through all the paperwork even. But it definitely taught me to keep organized with a bunch of different homes and different processes and being able to, if I have 2 people that are on the same page, like a contingent sale or something, marking them off and staying in line date by date and staying on top of my contingency time periods, and everything. I use a lot of spreadsheets. I'm overly type A.
That's funny because I'm kind of the same way. I went to college for marketing, and so some of my first jobs out of college was like marketing jobs and a lot of sales stuff. So we used to use a lot of spreadsheets, just to mark off like who you called, who's a warm lead, who's a hot lead, things like that. And to this day, I still use the same thing. I know people are like, you start using a CRM, it's just so much easier.
Yeah, no, it's
and
not
I'm like,
the same.
It's cool, but I just love the spreadsheets.
I know. I get mad at myself because I don't use my CRM. I'm like, I know I need to, but I have my process and I like it that way. Whatever works for you.
Right.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's very cool. I mean, that's a tough amount of escrows to handle, as we know, because I mean, as an office sometimes we handle that much, but for one person that's got to be a lot. You would have to be very, very organized. I was in charge of a couple of communities. There was 3 communities, so it was us overlooking a couple of different agents at the time too, as far as us getting on the same page with everything. So I wasn't making all 120 phone calls a week by myself by any means, but it was definitely making sure that they were getting done. And in those, we would actually get rated at the end and get kind of scolded if we didn't get all 10s on everything. Really?
So, customer service, construction, everything. So I took that into it too, as far as knowing, okay, at the very end of this transaction, I'm going to ask my buyers for a Zillow review, a Google review. And I hold myself accountable to where I better be getting 5 stars. And if not, I deserve not getting 5 stars.
Right.
Knock on wood, I've yet to get 5 stars. But, it's one of those things that you always put the customer first, no matter what.
Right. Let's talk about a little bit, because you were talking about with open houses, how you start to build like relationships. Do you like to get involved like with like a specific community? Or like, do you specialize maybe like in the area that you live in? Or are you kind of like, okay, going anywhere? Or do you like to focus on like mainly, let's say, Rancho or like areas around your office?
I specifically focus on targeting Rancho Cucamonga myself. But absolutely, I have learned I do not turn down a lead that's within an hour and 15-minute drive one direction or another. I won't turn that down. And I have my partners. If anyone's anywhere outside of that, I have my partners anywhere. I've made that relationship with my client, my Idaho agents, with Montana agents, Florida agents, New York, anywhere my client would want to go. I know people in every state to make sure that I have someone that I trust to put them in the right hands of. I'm not going to refer someone that I'm not going to trust my clients to. But I specifically focus my marketing on the Rancho Cucamonga area.
Do you think it's important to kind of specialize maybe in a certain type of real estate or certain areas? Does that give you some type of advantage?
I think everybody should specialize in some type of niche for sure. 100% you should specialize in a niche. I have a fellow agent friend of mine who specializes in, she went through an experience of dementia with her parents, and so she specializes on transitional living. So going from maybe a home that you've lived in for 30 years, now getting that family member into a senior facility or trust and probates, things like that. I love specializing specifically with first-time home buyers myself, just because of the fact that I adore and love teaching people real estate. I think that it's something that our parents don't teach it to us. We don't learn it in school. We don't learn it in college. There's not a lot of outside sources. Right. So when I have a first-time home buyer, I'm like, there's no dumb question. There's not too many questions. Ask me everything. Come with all the questions. And when you leave, you're not leaving until all your questions are answered and you feel good about the process you're going into.
And it's an intimidating decision that someone's getting into, right? They're buying their first home. It's the biggest investment of their life. If they haven't done it before, they don't know how the process works.
Yeah. So. And for me, I get that people want to focus on luxury and such, and I enjoy those first-time home buyers, and those are also my repeat clients. Those are the ones that, from 2 to 7 years, they're only going to be living in the home on average. So then those are my repeat clients down the road. And we just teach them how to build equity, and that's always their future investment in their first home, or building the equity to buy their next home. So it's something that I really, really enjoy specifically.
So staying on that topic, so right now they're saying that, it's pretty obvious that affordability is really hard, right? So especially for first-time home buyers, so maybe they might not have equity in a previous home, or it's hard for them to save a big down payment.
Yeah, it's really hard nowadays.
how are you keeping your first-time buyers motivated? And what advice are you giving them in this market?
Yeah, well, in this market, you're seeing a lot more offers getting accepted with closing cost also. It doesn't hurt to go out there and put the offer in, ask for some closing costs, see if you can help get that rate down. It is a big sticker shock for a lot of those first-time home buyers going, oh, whoa, I did not realize that my payment was going to be, over $4,000 a month. I can't afford that. How am I going to do that?
I think the average now is like about $5,500.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And for my sellers, I tell them too, because they know how much they want on their home. They're used to the prices over the last couple of years that it's built up through COVID. And I explain to them, just so you know, your buyer's coming through the front door, putting 3.5% down, this is their payment. Putting 20% down, this is their payment. And the seller's like, oh my gosh. And I have to explain, would you pay that amount to live in this home? And every single person says, no way, I wouldn't pay that amount.
Especially because they probably bought it 10 years ago.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So,
their payment's $1,500 and the new buyer is buying it for $5,000 a month. Exactly. Yeah. It's just it's a wake up call to the sellers also to go just prepare them. Just so you know, like some people might be asking for some closing costs. That's just the market right now. They might be asking for more requests for repairs because they are using a lot of money investing into the house. So it's a little bit. It's easier for our buyers to negotiate those things as we're going through before people go, no, I'm not fixing this and that. No, no closing costs. There's no way in the last couple of years you'd get that. But right now our buyers are getting a lot more on the table. So it's a great time to buy because you are getting those things that you couldn't get in the last couple of years. People had to waive their inspections, waive their appraisals, and now it's like no way, you do not have to do that at all.
Right. And okay, so now what do you so you've been in the industry since maybe, I'm guessing you said 2003-ish probably?
2006, yeah.
2006, okay. So you went through the whole ups and downs of the industry, right?
Yeah.
You went through 2008.
Yeah.
What did you learn from then? Not that we're in that situation, but we've gone through the cycles. What did you learn from that whole situation and applied it to like how the industry's slower right now? We're in a down market right now. And what would you suggest to maybe people that are struggling right now, people that are slim pickings out there? There's not a lot of movement. So what would you suggest to agents that are maybe going through their first cycle?
For me, what I learned is it's not about us, it's about them. It's about, and I was doing new homes at that time when everything had crashed. And we had a whole community where had all these people in escrow and everybody was leaving. They're like, no, we're backing out or we needed to lower the price on it and that sort of thing. And it wasn't something that we could take personal as far as like when somebody backs out. It's their situation and their life, and it's a matter of us making sure that our buyers are happy in their decision that they're making. I would never force anyone to buy a house. I would never have forced in that time, like, no, you need to continue. Here's why. It's what's comfortable with you. If my buyer is at that point in request for repairs, they're not comfortable, we'll sit and we'll chat about it. But in the end, if they're not comfortable with that, or if they're not comfortable with their mortgage or anything, it's not the right time. I had a seller, for example, who I met with him and he was a VA buyer, or he had bought a VA home, and he's at a 1.9 interest rate right now. And I told him, I'm like, I would love to sell your house. There's not a lot of inventory. I would love to sell your house this year, but I cannot tell you that you should get rid of this house. That's a crazy interest rate to walk away from. I'm like, if you can find another way for us to keep this home, and like, let's chat about that and get you another house to stay in. But it wasn't about me. It wasn't about me making that dollar on that. It was about giving them the right advice. And they're going to appreciate that. And in 3 years, when they're ready, then they're going to come back to me because I didn't force them to do that. So it's one of those that, just sticking with it. We all agents go through that. I should leave the industry. I should leave it. And all of a sudden it picks back up. And then you go back through again, a couple of months or a couple of years. Maybe I'm just not good at this. Maybe I should leave. And then it picks back up. It's just every single agent you talk to goes through that.
It's a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's just, you've got to learn to save in our industry. Being a realtor, it goes up, and don't go out and spend all that money. Invest into your business and keep investing into it, because you're going to go back down and you need to keep going back up, but you need to just keep investing in your business at all times.
Right.
And keeping that.
Yeah, some of the things that we learned in our escrow business as well is, we went from like I think a 15-person office in 2008 to like me and my mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, we learned a lot in that time, and I think one of the biggest things you said is just, it's important to save your money, and when things are great, you know, it's easy to feel like it's never going to end.
Yeah.
You know, but it does. It has to have its cycles, and then same when it's really slow. You know, you feel like, oh, like you said, maybe I'm not cut out for this, or maybe it's never going to turn out, but it will.
Yeah.
So you just got to learn to kind of hold out. But same thing, like, you know, if you save that money when things are good, and then you have a little bit of savings for when things are slow, then you'll make it through, and then you kind of keep that same, you know, lifestyle, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, and surround yourself with people that believe in you, that are going to talk you out of those times when you want to jump out. Because
and I've seen a lot of it. I mean, I've seen a lot of people that I followed that were realtors like 2 years ago, and now they're doing different things already.
Yeah, because it looked like easy money, and then they realize it's not easy money. Our families see how hard we work, and we do. We work
7 days a week.
7 days a week. Yeah, you miss things, and 7 days a week, and late nights, and I usually don't close my computer till a good 10 p.m. and I'm just like sitting there watching TV or something, but still working. So it is what it is. But yeah, you got to love it though, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Where do you see the market going from here? Like, do you foresee like the rates kind of staying where they're at for a while? Do you think, like some people are saying mid 2024 things should start kind of correcting a little bit?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts, watch a lot of, you know, top people, and every forecast that I've seen has been showing that in 2024 by like March we should be seeing interest rates drop a tiny bit. Not to where they were, of course. So, you know, people waiting for those 3%, it's like that's not going to happen. But I have been hearing they are going to tick down a tiny bit. I think 2024 and 25 are going to be great years. 2024, you know, I'm already seeing the end of this year starting to pick up, which is weird because we don't usually pick up around this time. And I feel like we have, at least on my side, I think people are just realizing it is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. This is our new normal. You know, it's just if you need to move, you're going to have to move. If you are living with family and you know you're living with your in-laws or something, if you can only hang in there for so long, you got to move. You've been saving, like it's time. And if people want to move, a lot of people are moving out of state. You know, then if they've been holding out and they're like, okay, now's the time. So. It's definitely, I think it's going to pick back up in 2024 and keep going through. So
great. So you were just mentioning the end of the year, which is getting to my next question is, so a lot of people, I'm sure, as you know, as the holidays come around, a lot of people take time off because there's not a lot of movement in that time of the year.
Right.
What do you normally do in those months, in the holiday months? Do you take some time off? Do you push a little bit harder? Do you prepare for the next year? Everybody kind of has a little bit of a different strategy.
Yeah, I like to push harder in my eyes just because of the fact that we always reap what we sow, and it's a matter of you see your business pick up in those 3 to 6 months after you've done the work.
Right.
And so that's something that I think a lot of us miss out on also is we put in the work and then we get busy 3 to 6 months later and then we're not putting in the work. And then so then we go down and then we put in the work and then we get busy and then we don't put in the work. And so we create our own cycles also. I just started last week. I have a partner that we're weekly having a phone call, or we're going to meet in person, and we're going, okay, here's our goals for this week. You know, we're doing client appreciation events. We're doing, I just did a coloring contest last week, doing some little Boo Bucket pop-bys for clients with kids, different things like that, where we're putting in the work now in order to keep those relationships going through the new year. We always pick up right after Super Bowl. The weekend right after Super Bowl, we pick up every year. We're very basic humans. You can't get the men out there to look at the houses, I guess. But every year we pick up. So it's like, okay, well, November, December, January, that's the time to put in the work. I'm more of a summer girl too, so I like taking my vacations in the summer. In the winter, I'm like, I'm just going to cozy up at home and work from home. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite time to do it.
Very cool. I also wanted to ask you about your social media, because it seems like your social media is very organized, very curated, and you have a good amount of followers as well. So how did you build that up? And do you have a specific strategy that you go for with your social media pages?
My social media it's a lot of work. I think people underestimate that, thinking it's easy, and it's not. It doesn't have to be. You just have to enjoy it. And for me, also, I tell people that ask me about it, I'm like, well, is that your client? Is your ideal client even on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? Are they not on anything? You know, it just depends who your clientele is. Are they on TikTok? My client who I target is on Instagram. So that's when I like to use the best. So I use that specifically. For me, I like to see who I'm talking to. I've created in my head, this is my ideal client. One day I wrote down, where do they shop? Where do they eat? What do they do for a living? What's their hobbies? And so when I talk to someone and the content I'm putting out, if you looked at it and I told you, you'd be like, oh, that does make sense. That's exactly who you're targeting. And so, like if I was a veteran and I wanted to talk to VA buyers, then I would be going, you know, to target those people. My colors and branding would be red, white, and blue. I would be going to see the local Air Force Museum or whatnot. I'd be going to the VA and all those different things I would be talking about specifically to that client. And so I think that's something that people miss out on, is they're just talking about real estate. And it's like, you don't talk about real estate because people just kind of overlook it. Like, okay, you're just another realtor. And too many people are like, sold. I'm like, no, nobody cares about sold. And for me, the best way to explain it to people is you have to pretend like you're at a party. Social media is a party. And so I'm at this party, this Instagram party. It's like sitting in a corner and here's the party and you go, sold. Like nobody cares. Right. It's like, no, I'm going to sit at the party and how am I going to conversate with you to get you to talk back to me?
Right.
And it's putting in the work. A lot of people don't realize you go out and you talk to people also. Talk to people in your neighborhood. Talk to other business owners in your neighborhood, other realtors in your neighborhood. Whoever that client is, talk to that person versus just sitting there and throwing out real estate. And that, you know, it doesn't make sense and people don't respond to that. So I think that's how I've grown my following organically, just because I'm talking to the right person.
Right. That's some really good tips. Well, you know, this has been a great interview. I really appreciate
of course, I enjoyed
the tips and bits that you gave out on this. Is there any other thing that you want to maybe put out there, or maybe where people could find you or get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can get a hold of me at the SDR group. Instagram, Facebook are always great. My contact information is on there as well. And no, just for other realtors, put in the work. For other buyers, it's a great time to buy for what we were talking about, all the incentives you can get. And for sellers, the prices are still really high up there. So it's absolutely worth it.
Well, Serena, thanks again so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate you inviting me into your beautiful home as well to do this. And I hope we could do this again soon in the future.
Yeah, hopefully. Enjoyed it.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for tuning into another episode. Make sure to subscribe and like the video, and we'll see you on the next one.